swallow, as was the case with the carrot. Then the girl remembered Roman, who could eat grass and fruits to survive on a desert island. It suddenly dawned on the girl that at that time he was talking about how they could live happily together. It only now dawned on her that Baskerville was trying to be kind to her. Out of frustration and missed opportunities, Lucy clenched her hands into fists. The girl would prefer not to think about it at all, and if she knew how much she would regret and yearn for the time spent together. Roman, through a note, asked the girl to show him the city because he had recently arrived here, but he had many friends for this. A few days later, the public school began its holidays. Lucy could finally stop waking up very early and get as much sleep as she wanted. But this was not destined to come true, because someone began to throw a stone at the window. From this constant sound, our heroine woke up and opened her eyes. The girl wanted to see what was happening on her balcony, so she got up and headed towards the sound. She barely managed to return another stone that flew right past her head. Roman stood below, apologizing for almost hitting the girl. There were no messages from her, so Baskerville came to her himself directly to the house. Roman said that he had been waiting for the girl for a long time, but she was sleeping, and therefore did not hear. The guy noticed that it was still early, but offered to go down and take a walk together if the girl didn't mind. Lucy noticed that the guy was still wearing her green scarf. The girl noticed that the guy still wasn't wagging his tail. He probably wasn't having so much fun spending time with her. The guy said that he has no friends at all, since he just moved to a new school. Although Lucy Yi decided to communicate less with him, she was flattered by his attention. After some time, the girl had completely changed into street clothes and went out. Her best friend Roman Baskerville was waiting for her on the threshold. The guy opened the carriage door and helped the girl get inside, after which they drove off. Roman looked at his friend and said with a smile that he would definitely buy her something. Lucy noticed that her friend was still wearing her scarf. The guy noticed that he really liked it, because it was her gift to him before leaving. Roman also shared that he explored the city center a little in advance before the walk. The kids from school told him about many interesting places during their studies. The guy added that the girls from his class tell him almost everything. They are very kind. Suddenly, the carriage stopped, and Lucy looked out the window to see where they were. Lucy immediately replied that she was not hungry and had no intention of going anywhere. Roman remembered very well how the girl, literally recently, was ready to eat everything. So he opened the carriage again, gave the girl his hand, and bowed to the coachman in farewell. Lucy was forced to admit that he behaved very gallantly indeed. At first, the guys just stood opposite each other and looked at each other with strange eyes. Lucy was both embarrassed and radiating some kind of self-confidence. The girl said that all this is only because the guy is now taller than her. The wolf was worried about what still seemed unfamiliar to her. Lucy shook her head from side to side and said that this was all wrong. The wolf was incredibly happy that the girl was not afraid and remembered. After that, he opened the door again, and the couple entered a small, cozy coffee shop. The guys took the menu, selected several drinks and desserts from there, and gave it back. At some point, Roman extended his hand forward and asked Lucy to give him her hand too. The girl sat calmly and drank tea, and did not understand why she needed to do this. It seemed to Roman that Lucy was cold, so he wanted to warm her up in this way. Lucy heard that sheep stay away from each other in winter, but in summer they huddle closer to each other. The guy asked why the girl didn't go home during these holidays and if she wanted to stay away from him. The sheep blamed everything on the fact that the holidays were too short, and she needed to prepare for the next semester. Roman was happy about this, but Lucy understood that this was not the main reason. She herself did not understand why she stayed. While the guys were talking, they had already been brought a ready-made stack of delicious pancakes, topped with maple syrup and berries. Lucy was drinking tea, and Roman volunteered to cut pancakes for her, so the atmosphere was reminiscent of a date. The wolf promised to accompany the girl everywhere if she wanted to, of course. He himself planned to begin by adapting to the local environment. For example, tomorrow he was invited home by a classmate. Lucy was very curious about this classmate, but she had no right to ask this. The next day, and then the day after that, there were no messages from Roman. Lucy Hutman hated that everyone wanted to date Roman Baskerville. She couldn't think about anything like that at all because she was jealous of him. Lucy admitted to herself that she wanted Roman to be just for her. The girl definitely wanted to get rid of this terrible feeling. She wanted to open her soul to someone, like Emma, but she would not be able to understand the feelings she was experiencing. There was another option, Khalid, who may have known what those feelings were. He was also a predator, so Lucy was more inclined to talk to him. Finally, after a few days, the holiday in honor of Reese's Day arrived. On the street, everything was completely decorated for various types of fairs and performances by artists. Of course, Lucy went to celebrate this holiday in the company of her friend Roman. and now the young man offered to win a toy for her in the next competition. Here it was necessary to shoot down the desired toy using a special weapon. Roman was quite accurate, so he knocked down 2 toys with the first shot. Lucy was pleasantly impressed that her friend turned out to be a pretty athletic guy. They decided to take a wolf toy as a prize, and Roman immediately gave it to Lucy. The girl was a little embarrassed. She thought that she should have gone with Emma. Roman noticed that the girl was very pale, so he asked if she was okay. To this, the sheep replied that she was just a little dizzy. The next second, I noticed the guy extending his huge hand towards her. The young man touched the girl's forehead and immediately understood what was going on. She developed a fever, so Roman suggested leaving immediately and going home. Already sitting in the carriage, Lucy apologized for ruining her friend's visit to the holiday. The guy wasn't particularly worried, because initially he wasn't really looking forward to this day. These words hurt Lucy a little, because now her friend was no longer looking forward to the moment when he could spend time with her. These thoughts made her feel uneasy. The girl clasped her hands in her lap. After some time, the coachman drove up to Lucy's house and stopped in front of the front door. Roman accompanied his friend and asked her to be sure to let him know if she suddenly got worse. In parting, he carefully placed his hand on her head and checked her temperature again. After this walk, Lucy finally decided that it would be better for her to stay away from Roman. At home, she placed the toy he had given her in the most prominent place in the center of the closet. And then the girl threw herself on the bed and buried her face in the sheet. Jealousy itself was very tiresome, but Lucy became more and more bored. When she is next to Roman, she is overcome by warm thoughts, because Roman has not done anything wrong, and this meant that she herself did the wrong thing by running away from his feelings once. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Someone wanted to go inside. The girl tried to stop crying and went to open the door for her visitor. Lucy did not at all expect that her classmate Khalid would be standing on the threshold of her house. The guy apologized for the late visit and asked the girl for help, which she could not refuse him. Initially, the friend went to visit Emma, but then ran away. Emma was also supposed to visit Lucy soon. The snake looked into the sheep's eyes and said that he had confessed his feelings to Emma. Lucy was very surprised by this fact, because she had not at all counted on such a turn of events. Khalid was very upset because he had done this and was now worried. Now all he asked Lucy was to say that he was a good person in every sense. It was not difficult, so Lucy immediately said syllable by syllable that Khalid is a good person. He was very pleased to hear this, but the guy asked to say this not to him, but to Emma. The rabbit herself knew this very well, but the guy hoped that the sheep would help them connect. He sincerely admitted that he wanted to date the rabbit, because he liked her very much. Lucy asked her friend to calm down, and said that she understood his feelings. The guy admitted that he liked the girl literally at first sight, but she turned out to be not very smart in love affairs. And he especially liked her cute, soft white ears, which he dreams of touching. At the beginning, he had no idea that he would fall head over heels in love with a girl, but it happened. In any case, he is a very good person, so he promised to be very caring towards the rabbit. However, the girl herself was very cowardly, which is why he needed the help of their mutual friend. Lucy was flattered that for someone she had become someone they could rely on. In exchange for help, the snake promised to do whatever the girl wanted. The guy added that she could ask him for anything, even consider him her slave. After this, Lucy finally agreed and asked how she could help her friend. Together they came up with a plan of action and were only worried that it might backfire. As the snake predicted, after some time Emma also visited Lucy. A friend asked the girl why she came to her in the middle of the night. It was clear from her that something scared her very much and made her move. The rabbit did not know what to do, because Khalid suddenly made a confession to her. Lucy pretended that she didn't understand what they were talking about. She just sat and listened carefully to the story. Emma talked about how they just sat and played various games. The guy suddenly suggested going for a walk, despite the fact that the cold is his main illness. He himself was shaking from the cold, but he still tried to look after the girl and even pulled his coat over her. Why did he suddenly say that he wanted to date her, which sounded like complete nonsense? Lucy laughed and said that even she could see how the guy was breathing unevenly towards the rabbit. Emma was worried that he was a snake. They were completely different from head to toe. The girl was also worried that until that moment the three of them had been just great friends. Lucy saw that the girl was not saying something and was sitting embarrassed and silent opposite her. The sheep remembered that on the very first day, Roman also suggested that they were a couple. He then said that the two would make a great couple because they get along well. Only now did the girl understand what he meant by these words then. The rabbit at this time reached the point that she wanted to scold the guy for confessing without warning. Although Lucy knew very well that the guy had repeatedly dropped hints to the rabbit, she simply did not notice them. And she also didn't understand how you could fall in love at first sight, without even knowing what kind of person she was. Khalid said that he liked the rabbit for no reason, but she believed that he fell in love with the fantasies he created. Lucy believed that whether it was ears or horns, their tail, people could fall in love with even one such little thing. Someone could love her for her beautiful and soft horns on her head, which distinguished her from the rest. Just like Roman's tail was special to her because he reacted happily to her every time. Emma's rabbit ears had the same meaning for the snake, so Lucy was interested in what the girl answered him. After all, they got along well all this time. Didn't she really develop any feelings for him? Emma didn't quite understand what she was talking about, but decided to listen. Lucy assumed that the girl was afraid that their friendship would suffer because of the situation. It was a little strange sometimes, but the girl has a pretty cute face. The sheep continued to think about the rabbit and the snake and reflected on their common future. However, suddenly Roman and their future together appeared in her fantasies. The girl shook her head from side to side to quickly drive away these visions. Meanwhile, Emma said that it wasn't that she didn't like Khalid. The thing was, she had never thought of him in that way. Emma asked Lucy herself the same question, but the girl had never thought about the guy in this way. This is why the rabbit was so scared to decide anything, because she simply never thought about it. She didn't understand how such an idiot like her could please a cheerful, smart snake. To be completely honest, sometimes he even seemed a little cute to her, but they were just friends. Although she knew that the guy was a little more sensitive to her than to other people, Lucy realized that now Emma, just like she herself in the past, is tossing between friendship and love. The rabbit thought that he was behaving this way simply because they were good friends, but it turned out that this was not so, and yet she was the last one who wanted to believe that it was about their friendship. Both girls at this stage of their lives were still learning the difference between friendship and love. Emma didn't know what to do if she suddenly felt awkward communicating with the guy. She wanted the three of them to continue to be friends. Lucy calmed the girl down and said that everything would be okay with them. Emma hoped that the girl was right, and at the same time asked if she herself had found herself in such a situation. The question was extremely important, so the girl almost gave away her secret, but still caught herself in time and said that she had never been in such a situation. Emma was also worried that if they started dating, it was unknown how long it would last. The girl dreamed of turning back time so that the incident that happened today would simply disappear. Lucy noticed that if the rabbit did not answer the guy, then their relationship would only become more awkward. Emma thought about stopping communicating with the guy altogether and being friends with just the two of them. Then Lucy asked the rabbit to close her eyes and imagine that she was holding Khalid's hand. Emma didn't even understand how she could get goosebumps because of some kind of fantasy. Then the girl advised her friend to imagine that they were kissing, but neither of them had such experience. In this case, Lucy advised to imagine that the snakes were kissing any other girl. Emma noticed that she really didn't like this, but it was unlikely to matter much to her. In this case, Lucy resorted to an extreme measure and asked to imagine herself in the girl's place. It was extremely difficult, but Emma tried to imagine Khalid kissing Lucy. There was silence in the room for several minutes as the girls imagined this situation. Finally, Emma admitted that although she loved Lucy, she did not like this situation. This meant that the girl had some feelings for him, so the sheep advised the guys to try to meet. Emma the bunny will probably be sad if she turns down her boyfriend and Khalid starts dating someone else. By the time the girl realizes how sad she is from the loss, it will be too late. Lucy regretted that no one had said such words to her when she herself had experienced something similar. Perhaps everything would have turned out differently now if she had listened to Roman to the end that day. Emma was worried that because of them the trio would break up, but Lucy promised that everything would be okay. She advised the girl to start by going on a few dates with a guy. After all, she didn't intend to spend her whole life alone and not meet anyone. Lucy had never been in a romantic relationship herself, so she didn't know if things would change between them. But she wanted everyone to have a friend who could help them accept the situation. Lucy accompanied Emma to the exit and promised that next time she would definitely listen to her too. The girl said goodbye and the rabbit went to her home, and the sheep returned to her home. The girl entered her small room and headed straight to her favorite bed. There she fell face first into the pillow and began to think about what she had missed in life. Just as she advised the rabbit to do this, the sheep itself closed its eyes and imagined kissing Roman. This picture made her feel very pleased and sad at the same time. Tears welled up in her eyes. A few days later, Khalid came to the heroine's house and asked if she needed any help. He was very happy and grateful to the girl for helping him reunite with his beloved. He really liked calling Emma his lover, so he repeated it over and over again. The guy even apologized for being too cheerful and laughing too much. In any case, he just wanted his girlfriend to know about it first, and also promised to keep his word. Lucy remembered that he promised to do whatever she wanted if the girl helped him. He said that yesterday because the sheep is his friend, and at the same time the friend of the one he loves. Lucy has helped him in matters of the heart, so she can ask him for any favor whenever she wants. The girl promised to definitely think about it, but for now the guys decided to go their separate ways. The sheep was very happy that she could help her friends pair up. However, after her friend left, the girl realized that although she was surrounded by those she loved, she still felt lonely. Although perhaps it was more a feeling of solitude than loneliness. Lucy still didn't feel very well, so she decided not to go out and rest until the end of the holidays. The girl lay down on the bed and decided to take a quiet nap in order to recover quickly. In any case, even if she needs someone now, she still cannot replace that one with someone else. She didn't really know what she was looking for when she came here, or, on the contrary, she wanted to throw something away. Now the girl's whole body ached. She thought that it would have been better if she had not met Roman. She was sick, so she fell asleep quite quickly and did not hear anything that was happening around her. That's why she missed someone throwing something at her window and breaking the glass. The next morning, the girl woke up and realized that she had caught a cold. She looked at her chest of drawers and was surprised that the wolf was standing right in the center, although she didn't seem to put him there. Then the girl saw that her bedroom window was broken. Because of the wind, it was very cold in her room, so it was necessary to quickly resolve the issue with the window. The girl even thought that she needed to return home, then she would not catch a cold. Lucy made herself some tea to warm up after sleeping with the window open. As soon as she relaxed for a minute, the girl also began to imagine how she was kissing Roman again. Lucy didn't understand what was happening to her lately and what she should do next. To begin with, the girl decided to deal with the window, which she had already covered with rags. She clearly remembered closing the window, so she didn't understand why it cracked. Suddenly, a searing pain shot through her left leg as she moved around the room. Lucy looked down and saw that it was a shard of glass being driven into her leg. The girl carefully leaned down and tried to carefully take out a piece of glass. It was still very painful, and her foot started bleeding. The first thing she needs to do is stop the bleeding and wrap her wound with a bandage. However, no matter how much Lucy tried to do this, the blood still did not stop flowing. The girl had already begun to fall into despair due to the fact that the bleeding did not stop. She was afraid that the worst had happened and that the shrapnel had hit some major artery. Due to blood loss and stress, Lucy began to feel dizzy and needed to urgently call someone for help. Luckily, Emma was nearby and ran to help her friend. First, she just needs to provide first aid, so the rabbit asked the girl to close her eyes and be patient. Her hands were shaking with fear when Emma the rabbit unwound the old bandage, which was all soaked in blood. After this, the girl washed the wound with clean water and removed small fragments. It was very painful, but Lucy stood strong and endured it all. Rabbit suggested that the wound might be too deep and suggested going to the hospital. Usually they go there with serious cases, but Emma believed that this was exactly what her friend needed. She carefully wrapped her leg in a fresh bandage and literally begged Lucy to go to the hospital with her. The sheep said that she woke up in the morning and saw that the window had broken, and then she accidentally cut herself on it. The rabbit did not understand how the window could break on its own. Someone was clearly to blame for this. She even yelled at her friend and told her to be more careful. Lucy decided to change the subject and asked how her date with Khalid went. The rabbit began her story by saying that yesterday they met early in the morning. However, at first she did not understand at all how to behave with him. It was very strange for her to see him as a boyfriend and not as a friend. Therefore, first of all, the girl suggested that her boyfriend try to kiss. After the kiss, they both did not feel such enormous awkwardness from the first date. Lucy sat simply in shock at the rapid development of her friends' relationships. The rabbit saw her friend's reaction and began to worry that everything had gone strange. Lucy got goosebumps from such speed, and the girls understood why the guy smiled so much yesterday. To reassure her friend, she compared their kiss to trying something in a store before buying it. Such an action was very rational, and in any case, the guys had already done this. Lucy could tell from the rabbit's face that they both liked this kiss. Emma didn't understand how to explain it, but it was enough for her that she just liked it. The girl looked at her friend and asked why she had such a lost look. She stroked the sheep on the cheek and promised that their friendship would not change. They would communicate as before. After that, Lucy calmed down and they continued to chat about their last date. Suddenly, the calm conversation between two friends was interrupted by a knock on the door from the street. The girls didn't call anyone, so they were wondering who came at that time. Lucy had a wounded leg, so the rabbit volunteered to go and check who came there. The girl came back with a very happy smile on her face and invited the sheep to guess the guest. Lucy wasn't expecting anyone at all, so she couldn't even guess the name of the visitor. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be her best friend since the old times, Roman Baskerville. The girl did not expect to meet him at all, so at first she even forgot about her wound and jumped out of her chair. However, the leg immediately made itself known, forcing the girl to sink back into the seat. The rabbit explained that the sheep was injured when it stepped on a piece of broken glass from the window. She also asked the guy how he knew where Lucy lived. Roman looked first at the broken window, then lowered his gaze to his bandaged leg and suddenly became very sad. The rabbit didn't understand what was going on here and why the guys were behaving this way. Roman looked into his girlfriend's eyes and said that he was very sorry. Emma saw that they were about to have a serious conversation, so she decided to leave early and give the guys a chance to talk. She thought that the couple was in the same situation as herself, so she decided to help her friend. The girl winked and then ran away to give the lovers the opportunity to be alone. Lucy didn't want to be abandoned and left alone with Roman. She looked at the young wolf and asked why he came here in the first place. The guy said he could still smell blood from his leg, so he asked if he could look at the wound. After the girl's permission, he carefully picked her up and carried her towards the exit. Lucy tried to convince him that she would go to the hospital herself if necessary. However, the guy believed that the girl was talking complete nonsense and was not going to leave her. He carefully helped the girl get into the carriage and ordered the coachman to head towards the hospital. Lucy thought that the guy worried too much about trifles. However, Roman admitted that it was he who broke that window in her room. It seemed to him that the girl was sick, so when he passed by, he lightly tossed a stone. He hoped in this way to call the girl to the balcony, like last time. However, he miscalculated his strength and accidentally broke it, but was going to tell him everything. Yesterday he came to Lucy's house because he was worried about her and her health. In this case, Lucy decided to accept payment for the broken window and for the hospital bills too. Roman even advised me to tell my parents about him, but the girl said that everything happened by accident. She wasn't mad at her friend at all because nothing serious had happened. Roman promised to make amends and fully compensate for all losses, but he was still upset that the girl called Emma instead of him when she got hurt. It seemed to Lucy that the guy was the first to begin to treat her indifferently. The girl was worried about going out without shoes and without makeup, but Roman noticed that even in this form she looked beautiful. After these words, Lucy asked if he said this to all his friends. After some time, the carriage stopped in front of the hospital, and the guy extended his hand to help the girl down. Lucy noticed that she could walk on her own, so she refused help. He insisted that she should not step on her foot, but if she did not want to accept help, he would do something differently. The guy simply picked up Lucy in his arms, like a little feather. He asked the girl to stop being stubborn and just rely on him this time. But she was worried that others might see them in such a strange position. Roman didn't understand why the girl would make such scenes, because the more she behaved like this, the more attention they would attract. At the hospital, the girl's wound was cleaned, small fragments were removed, and the edges were treated. Lucy was even a little tired of Roman acting like a mother hen and worrying too much. The cut on the girl's leg was small, so it wouldn't be very noticeable even if there was a scar in the future. Roman blamed himself for everything, because besides this, something else could have happened. Lucy said that he did not need to blame himself for anything, because only he, Emma, and herself knew about this incident. Even so, Roman still considered it wrong and felt guilty. The guy invited the girl to carry her home and knelt down so that she could climb on his back. The girl was embarrassed to do this and wanted to go herself, but she was still not allowed to do this. Lucy didn't understand why the guy wouldn't treat her so well if he didn't even have feelings for her. Still, she has many options, so the girl carefully climbed onto his back and allowed herself to be carried. At home, she said that she wanted to rest a little and promised to call Emma if she suddenly felt pain. Regarding the broken glass, they decided that Lucy would replace it first and then pay the bill. It wasn't that big of a deal, so Lucy thanked Roman for his help today. The guy was worried, because if it weren't for him, nothing would have happened at all. Anyone would have done the same in his place. Lucy didn't want to take his words too seriously, so she simply agreed with him. The girl wished the guy to take care of himself and turned around to go home. She thanked the guy, even though he was the culprit of her incident. After that, the guys said goodbye, and Lucy went inside the building, closing the door behind her. The sheep believed that Roman should not think that it was all his fault. She sat on the bed and realized that this was the worst vacation of her life. Lucy received a letter from home in which her family asked about her life at the new school. The girl told the family that everything was fine with her, and the holidays were very short. That is why she did not come in winter, but promised to come in summer. Quite a lot of time has passed, so the girl's wound is slowly healing. Next, the girl decided to read a letter from her friend Roman. The guy wished her a happy new year and asked how her leg was doing. The new year did not mean anything special for the girl, and 2 weeks of winter holidays passed. Roman returned a little earlier than the start of classes and immediately went to his friend to check on her health. Lucy reported that almost everything has healed, and now it doesn't even hurt her to walk. Roman looked very upset and could not forgive himself for such an offense. Every now and then he looked down at his girlfriend's legs and tried to find some differences in them. Roman took Lucy by the hand and said that he would take the girl home in the evening. If he is late, then the carriage will be waiting there in any case. He promised to do this until his leg was completely healed. That is why Lucy and Roman rode to and from school together in a carriage every day. The girl sat opposite her friend and felt a little awkward. She decided they needed to talk about something, so she talked about Emma and Khalid's relationship. The wolf was very surprised by this, although he initially guessed that something was happening between them. The guy liked Emma from the very beginning of school, and Lucy became friends with them a little later. This news made Roman think about something, although he reacted positively. Everyone at school was already discussing the fact that Lucy arrives every day in Baskerville's carriage. However, the guys themselves preferred to pretend that nothing strange was happening. They entered school together, and then said goodbye and went to their classes. There was a particularly pleasant atmosphere in Lucy's class because of the couple in love. Khalid doesn't care about the opinions of others, because now they are officially dating. But Emma felt a little awkward because of the extra attention, and even when they were fighting, the guys still looked like they valued each other very much. Lucy looked at her friends and could not believe that they could behave like children. The guys were very happy to see their friend after the long holidays. Khalid was still worried about Roman and was worried because Lucy was riding in the carriage with him. He didn't see them leave together, but his scent was clearly imprinted on all her clothes. Emma asked to help her calm the snake so that he would behave a little more restrained. The girl reported that her leg has almost healed, but still hurts a little. Khalid has only just learned that the girl was injured when she stepped on a piece of glass at home. Emma hoped that her friend's wound would heal by the beginning of the winter ceremony. The girl also thought that she needed to somehow punish Roman for his negligence and causing harm. The guys did not have time to discuss this, because the teacher entered the class and announced the beginning of the lesson. Lucy thought about using her injury as an excuse, but she was not sure that Roman would want to dance with her and not with someone else. Soon a school event began, which amazed the sheep with its scale. The tables were literally bursting with various desserts and all kinds of tea. At this school event, everyone could talk, eat sweets, dance, or play all night long. Lucy thought that if there was no awkwardness between her and Roman, then she could dance with him. Lately, this thought has eclipsed all the girls' thoughts and distracted her from other matters. Sheep thought it would be wonderful if she could dance with Roman. There were many chances for them to dance together at various events. For example, when Roman was her only friend, or when he was in love with her. During all these moments, the guys could hold hands and dance freely with each other. Even if it were possible to turn back time, Lucy was sure that she would dare to dance with the guy. She believed that she could fall in love with everyone, because despite their different origins, they liked each other. Emma looked at her friend and asked why she was folding origami from pages. Lucy herself didn't notice how she began to steal sheets of paper from the notebook and put together various shapes. Emma thought that her friend was doing this simply because she was bored in this lesson. But Lucy understood that this was something more, because she had never done origami before. Khalid also noticed his friend's confusion and realized that something was wrong. Lucy noticed his look and thought that she could ask him for advice later. For now, the guy distracted his rabbit girlfriend and gave the sheep the opportunity to be alone. The best way to distract herself now was to focus on her own feelings. That's why the snake covered the rabbit's hand with his own and squeezed it gently. I didn't understand why people couldn't live on their own and felt lonely when they were alone. The boys went to play cricket, and Lucy said that if she got in the way, they shouldn't tell her about it directly. But Khalid noticed that they have separate time that they spend alone, and the girl is trying to distance herself from them. In any case, he wanted to talk to her about one small detail. The snake accurately noticed that the girl's leg had already completely healed, but she still continued to pretend that something hurt there. Lucy said she wanted to use this as an excuse to skip the winter ceremony and asked not to tell Emma. The guy didn't understand this behavior because anyone would agree to go to the event with her. And then the guy added that the girl was clearly thinking about going there with Baskerville. Lucy was very surprised that the guy called her by her real name, Leperdier. Khalid admitted that their family has connections with the press, so he simply guessed everything. When he first appeared at school, Roman behaved as if he knew the girl, and Lucy herself seemed to be among herbivores for the first time. For example, this was clearly visible after the incident with cuticle cream on the horns. and among those whom Roman might have known, there was a man known from birth, our age, a sheep. Lucy reminded that the press wanted to print about it, but almost went bankrupt. The girl admitted that she just wanted to live a little normal life before going to college. But Khalid immediately realized that it was not just that. Baskerville was involved. The snake did not understand why Roman transferred to them. He clearly followed the girl. Lucy said that before they moved, they had a big fight over something stupid, and Roman came because he wanted to make peace with her. The guy understood that all this sounded like complete nonsense and did not believe a single word of the wolf. He added that if it wasn't a breakup, then the guy doesn't have to behave like that. The wolf constantly circles around the girl without the consent of the person he is not even dating. Lucy didn't understand what he was talking about, so she asked for clarification. Just as Khalid wanted to talk about this in more detail, the ball immediately flew at them. Thanks to his instincts, the young man noticed the approach of the object at the last moment. He managed to react and put his hand up, but the blow was still quite strong. The guy even swore and asked what kind of person did it. The culprit of the event immediately hurried to them with an apology for his crookedness. It turned out to be Roman, who immediately asked if the guys were okay. Some hostility arose between the guys, so they silently stood opposite each other and watched. Roman once again apologized for his awkwardness, then took the ball and left to continue playing. Khalid still didn't understand what kind of relationship the guys were in. If they were just friends, then Roman's behavior was not normal, and something had to be done about it. The girl was afraid that Roman would find out that her leg had actually healed a long time ago. It was necessary to urgently take some action, so Lucy decided that tomorrow she would go to school alone. I decided to discuss this moment in the evening in the carriage, on the way home from school. Lucy plucked up her courage and told her friend that it might be a problem to walk on her own. Roman noted that if the girl overexerts herself while her leg is healing, the wound will not heal properly. After this, there was an awkward silence in the carriage that lasted several minutes. Previously, the girl told Roman that they would always be friends. So now he wondered if she had said the same thing to Emma and Khalid. The guy admitted that he was lonely. He hadn't gone out for a long time, so he should start making new friends. He asked Lucy if she was okay with this arrangement. The girl only replied that the more friends, the better. At school, strangers kept asking the girl about who she would go with to the winter ceremony. Lucy told everyone that due to her leg injury, she would have to miss it. Emma was most upset that her friend wouldn't go to the ceremony to have fun. She realized that the girl was deliberately spreading rumors that she would not go to the ceremony. The rabbit even guessed that her friend's leg had actually healed a long time ago. Although the doctor said that she had a muscle injury that would take a long time to heal and make itself felt periodically, the rabbit thought that by the end of the week, Roman could ask the girl to go with him to the ceremony. However, after the last conversation, they no longer communicated. Roman, using his leg injury as an excuse, takes the girl home but does not say a word. Lucy sincerely believed that it would be better if they just quarreled. Then they could at least make up. Lucy entered the classroom and heard the girls there discussing Baskerville. When they saw her, they suddenly fell silent and decided to go talk elsewhere. The girl had long come to terms with this behavior of her classmates, so she didn't even pay attention to them. Lucy approached the rabbit and said that she and Roman were just friends. She still didn't want to go, so as not to see him dancing with someone else, so she preferred to relax at home. Khalid looked at the girl's behavior and didn't like it very much. The guy didn't even really want to talk to his girlfriend lately, seeing her in such a state. That evening, on the way home in the carriage, Roman asked if Lucy wanted to tell him something, but the girl only asked if the guy was tired of taking her home all the time. Roman was clearly expecting another question, so he just silently looked at his friend. After that, he simply turned to the window and they didn't talk again that evening. A few days later, the day of the ceremony came. The rabbit persuaded her friend to go at least for company. But Lucy admitted that she doesn't really like such events. And she asked her friends not to wait for themselves to be persuaded, and citing a sore leg, went home. On the day of the ceremony, Roman still took his girlfriend home in the evening after school. He still couldn't believe that the girl really wouldn't go to the ceremony. But Lucy said that the guy knows very well how much she doesn't like parties. In fact, she liked them after meeting Roman, but the girl decided not to tell him about it. For the first time in her life, she was looking forward to a gala evening and hoped to receive an invitation. But instead, she wished him a good day. The next morning, after the winter ceremony was clear, it was on this day that Lucy told Roman not to come pick her up again. She explained that her leg had long since healed and there was no longer any need to ride a carriage. Lucy admitted that she was heartbroken, but she didn't want to feel jealous anymore. She informed Roman about her leg and apologized for speaking so late. The guy wanted to take her one last time, but Lucy said that she had some business in town. The girl admitted to herself that she liked Roman, so now she didn't want to give him any reasons. She believed that they had already missed their time, and now they needed to keep their distance. Then one day the guy will be able to tighten her heart. Now she understood why he himself cut off communication for several months. Things weren't going well at school either. Lucy told her friends that she was going on a diet. She said she wasn't feeling well and invited Emma to have lunch with her boyfriend. In fact, the girl decided to simply avoid the place where she could meet Roman. She planned to come to and leave school early for a while. She hoped that after her feelings for Roman passed, they could be friends again. The girl hoped that soon everything would return to normal. In the meantime, she tried to walk more and spend time outdoors. Unfortunately, this diet and lifestyle clearly did not benefit the young girl. Khalid has noticed that Lucy has been avoiding Baskerville lately. He not only noticed some signs of this, but his intuition told him so. Lucy said that she didn't see him often anyway. It's just that friends get closer and further apart from time to time. To put it bluntly, the girl considered herself an uninteresting person. However, the guy understood perfectly well that this was some kind of love quarrel between them. He noticed that if Lucy continued in the same spirit, Roman's heart would crumble into pieces. The guy believed that after what Roman did at the winter ceremony, Lucy just needed to pull him out of her life. The girl listened carefully to the guy and did not understand what he was talking about. He said that even the slow-witted Emma already understood everything and offered to introduce her friend to her friends. Lucy still continued to deny that they had broken up because they weren't dating. The snake still could not understand the relationship between Roman and Lucy. The girl turned away and noted in a sad voice that she had been rejected. She said that she liked the wolf, but he didn't like her anymore. That is why the girl believed that she was rejected before anything had time to start. She asked not to call Roman a scumbag because she was in love with him. The girl herself did not notice how tears rolled from her eyes at these words. Lucy was sitting in class and suddenly started crying in front of everyone. Khalid also didn't understand why his friend suddenly started crying and tried to calm her down. Khalid helped his friend go outside and get some fresh air. The guy sat the girl down on a bench and he went to get water for her. A couple of minutes later, the young snake returned with 2 mugs full of cool water. The only thing Lucy asked was not to tell the rabbit to Emma. Khalid immediately knew that something had happened between the girl and Roman, so he thought of a love quarrel. But it turned out that he did not understand the whole situation at all, so he asked me to tell him. Khalid said that he was really interested to know about everything that happened between them. Lucy smiled and said that it was actually a very long and boring story. However, she still told everything from their first meeting last summer. Lucy told her friend what happened between her and Roman last year. The story turned out to be quite long and a little ornate, but the guy was able to figure it out. After the girl finished her story, she sat silently for several minutes. The snake believed that their relationship was very confusing and illogical. He could not believe that omissions between people could lead to such a state. The girl still didn't like that her beloved boyfriend was being insulted. But Khalid noticed that now this was not the most important thing in this story. In any case, it was not easy for Lucy now because she was in love with Roman. Because he didn't like her anymore and she had developed feelings for him. That is why her heart ached and ached so hellishly. Khalid noticed that one wise saying always accompanied him through life. He sincerely believed that if someone behaves like an idiot, then they need to come up with a reason for this. But now the most important thing was that the girl wanted to move on in life. And for this, she just needed to confess her feelings to Roman. The whole problem was that the guy never rejected her personally. The girl did not want to do this, but Khalid insisted that she needed to check everything personally. He advised the girl to have some courage and talk to the guy directly. He promised that he would help the girl with her relationship, since she helped him with his. I had to admit it, because you can only honestly worry when you are truly turned away. Therefore, he advised Lucy to invite Roman to a conversation and tell him everything honestly. The girl did just that, agreeing to talk with her friend in the evening. Roman arrived on time, as they agreed. He did not look very cheerful. She didn't look very good due to her diet and constant stress. The girl was shaking very much with fear, but still decided to speak out. She had been told all her life that she should have a lion's heart, so the girl hoped that she had inherited it from her ancestors. I tried to start the same phrase several times, but I kept stuttering. In the end, the girl had enough strength to tell Roman that he was her first unrequited love. This is what Khalid advised her to do, to repay Roman with the same coin as him. He said to talk about everything in the past tense, as Roman himself confessed to her. The guy advised the girl to confess the past tense, and then add that she had already stopped experiencing these feelings. He ordered to take this as a task, to open up completely and feel relief. And after this conversation, he asked to contact him. That's why Lucy did what she did. She talked about her feelings in the past tense. The girl decided that since this was the end, she could be completely honest. Lucy said that Roman was her first and only friend because he knew what she really was like. He was very dear to her. At first, she thought it was just friendship. But then I realized that everything had grown into love, but it was too late. When their communication suddenly ended, every day seemed like hell to her. That's why she was jealous of the people who were next to Roman all this time. She apologized to the guy and said that she didn't want this to continue. The girl hoped that now they could be friends again, but she didn't have time to finish. Roman suddenly rushed forward and grabbed her shoulders. The girl did not expect such a turn of events at all, so she did not know how to react. The guy held Lucy by the shoulders, was shaking all over, and just constantly asked why she decided to tell him this now. Lucy noticed that even Roman's tail began to move and began to shake all the way as if from fear. The guy looked at the girl and asked why she stopped liking him. He suggested that perhaps he stopped liking her because of the ceremony. Lucy didn't understand at all what was happening now, what all this talk was all about. Roman thought that he stopped liking her because he broke a window or said stupid words. He even asked if Lucy might like someone else now. He was amazed that a girl could just stop loving him. The guy was in despair and shouted that he had made a mistake and forgave him to forgive him. He looked Lucy in the eyes and asked if he could start liking her like before again. Roman begged the girl to say something to him and not just stand there silently. The sheep did not at all expect such a reaction from her confession, so she did not know what else to do. The guy continued to shake his whole body and lowered his head onto the girl's shoulder. He suddenly started crying and asked why she stopped loving him. Lucy didn't understand why this guy suddenly started crying on her shoulder. The guy added that he had behaved disgustingly in recent days, but promised to explain everything. And that's why the guys first went into the house and decided to drink some water to calm down. Lucy even offered to hug the toy version of the wolf if it would help him. The guy took the stuffed animal and happily hugged him with his huge arms. Roman asked the girl at what point she began to like him and why she stopped. To begin with, the girl asked him to stop crying so that they could talk normally. Roman really tried to stop crying, but this hysteria was much stronger than him. He just squeezed the stuffed wolf and tried to stop his tears. The guy thought that the girl liked him even less when he was in this state. Lucy decided not to torment the young man for a long time and said that she actually liked him. Hearing these words, Roman abruptly stopped crying and turned to the girl. The girl also added that she still likes him. She just wants to move on, and it's not so easy to let go of feelings. The girl was glad that she was able to clear up this misunderstanding between them, after which she looked at her friend and asked if he liked her. Roman immediately started nodding his head and said that he had liked her all along. Lucy stroked the guy's cheek and saw that his tail began to swing from side to side again with happiness. The girl asked the guy to stop crying and tell her everything from the very beginning. Now she knew for sure that friends liked each other. The wolf tried to calm down and squeezed the plush toy tighter in his hands. Now the guys had to decide what to do next with this information. The guy still looked upset that he had to deceive the girl. Lucy turned away for a minute and thought, staring into space. Then the girl turned to the young man and asked if they were dating now. Roman immediately threw his toy and now turned completely to his girlfriend. The young man gently took her hand in his and squeezed it lightly. They had to make an even more serious confession than had happened before. Roman looked straight into Lucy's eyes and said that he wanted to marry her. The desire to marry a girl did not come to him completely spontaneously. At this time, at Baskerville Castle, the older brothers received a letter from Roman. The boy asked why they ordered him to win a game that was so good to lose. Harold didn't immediately understand what was going on, so he had to explain to his older brother. This meant that the guys were going to meet, which would be a good outcome for the family. Last year in May, when Roman and Lucy were separated, there was a scandal at home. Alexander ordered his younger brother to pull himself together and stop being hysterical. There was a gun lying on the floor that had obviously been fired recently. Alexander asked if the middle brother really shot his younger brother. Harold beat Roman because he was planning to commit suicide. The boy lay on the floor and only said that his life no longer had meaning. The middle brother said that the younger brother tried to kill himself right in front of him. The elder looked down at him and immediately realized that his heart had been broken. The middle one didn't understand what had happened so badly that he was whining so much. Alexander noticed that Lucy would not understand his feelings if the guy died. This was clearly one of the worst-case scenarios. The elder was a great expert in love affairs, so he suggested coming up with a plan. He ordered his younger brother to imagine how the girl lived her whole life without him. If he dies, Lucy will lose her only friend and will feel guilty for the rest of her life. These words brought some sense to the younger brother. He even stopped crying. The guy did not believe that there would be another person who would love the girl as much as he did. As soon as Roman imagined how Lucy would get to some scoundrel, Like a hyena, he immediately flew into a rage. The older brother only added fuel to the fire and painted a worse picture for the young girl. Roman could no longer listen to these stories and rolled on the floor, covering his ears. Even Harold thought that Alexander spoke too cruel words. The elder believed that they should put everything in its place so that the guy would not do the same again. Roman lay on the floor and thought only that there was no point in living if his feelings were not accepted. The middle and older brothers looked at their youngest and did not believe that he was their own. They couldn't stand his whining anymore, so they decided to tie the guy up with a vine for the wolves. Thanks to its characteristics, Roman will not be able to break it and escape. Then the guys began to come up with a further plan of action so that their brother would not go crazy. Alexander was confident that Lucy would reciprocate Roman's feelings. They knew that their younger brother had run away recently, and now he was simply not himself. The guys decided to take care of Roman until he comes to his senses. The guys dried him with cold towels and gave him soothing infusions. Along the way, they tried to force the younger one to tell what happened. However, Roman did not want to open his mouth and tell them anything. Alexander knew perfectly well that Lucy told the guy that he was only a friend to her. Roman couldn't understand how his older brother could take his place when he had everything. However, he understood what the younger one was thinking about and said that he too did not get everything with a snap of his fingers. Alexander said that if Roman really wants to get Lucy, then he should not show other people that he likes her. In fact, this was explained by the fact that people do not like it when someone is very interested in them. According to his older brother, it was very similar to playing cards, so they could teach him how to win. In love and the card game, the main thing was not to show what you want, because your opponent will not give you the right card if he knows your plans. Lucy would hardly have accepted the feelings that the guy secretly cultivated in himself. She behaved this way because his feelings were unrequited. The girl was scared. Roman wasn't sure what happened at that moment. He just got angry and ran away. The guy was worried that he could ruin everything once and for all. He knew that Lucy wanted to live on her own and could move away from him. The guy thought that she wanted to get rid of him as much as she wanted to get rid of her last name. However, so far she has not said anything like that to him personally. Lucy had to leave for another city, and the guy did not want to be separated from her. Roman wanted to immediately return and talk to the girl, but Alexander forbade him to do this. He reminded that if a guy wants to get what he wants, he needs to learn to be patient. Now the younger brother was too excited. He needed to get some sleep. Under the guise of an antipyretic, Alexander fed his younger brother some kind of sleeping pill. The elder already understood which side the family lawyer would side with if the younger decided to sue him. Alexander wished Roman good night, and the young wolf's mind began to grow cloudy. Roman's last thought that day was that he had acted stupidly and left Lucy furious. Alexander himself experienced something similar and fought the urge to lock his wife in a birdcage. He thought that their family curse was pure nonsense until he encountered it himself. Alexander was afraid that the girl would run away if she knew about his real thoughts. He did not believe that Lucy, when she learned about these feelings, decided to run away. The girl did not look like the kind who could abandon a friend in trouble or turn away from him so easily. After waking up, Roman said that Lucy was planning to move and go to another school. He did not know the name of the school itself, but he knew that it was located somewhere in the province far from the city. The guy didn't know why she was leaving, especially since it came as a surprise to him. The girl said that she wanted to find herself, but Roman did not believe that this could not be done in their hometown. Even though the younger one told him everything he knew, the older one still had no intention of letting him go anywhere anytime soon. Roman wanted to come back and apologize to the girl, but Alexander said that he needed time. He promised that he would be held responsible if the guys moved away from each other. The younger brother knew this girl for only a year, so his hobby could have harmed himself first. He promised to help Roman if he was able to wait a little. However, a lot of time has passed since then, and the matter has not moved forward. Alexander drank tea and reasoned that Lucy really liked Roman. She just didn't know it herself yet. He advised his brother to make the girl feel the pain of loss, because people begin to value something only when they lose it. It was very similar to hunting, so for starters, the guy was not allowed to communicate with the girl while he was in a rage. It was necessary to make the girl lower her defenses and allow herself to be caught. Only then will the girl no longer dare to leave him after confessing. Roman did not believe that Lucy could love him so much. However, Alexander only smiled, because he was a master in love affairs and understood this thoroughly. The young man entered the room holding a letter from Lucy. Roman immediately rushed to his brother, hoping to read her message. However, if he wants to get a girl, he should put these thoughts aside. He should try harder if the guy wants to marry Lucy and live his whole life with her. Roman decided to follow his older brother's advice and obey him in everything. And the first stage was a complete ban on any contact with each other. That is why Roman personally threw the letter from the girl into the fire and watched it burn to the ground, hoping that this would lead him to victory.